So to get started, let me introduce our guest speaker for tonight, Mr. Mike Togle. Mike is a certified wealth planner specializing in retirement planning, estate planning, and life insurance planning. And he's known for creating content to give people a sturdier resilience on their success journey, a deeper dive intro into life insurance, and a healthier understanding of retirement planning. So good value from tonight's session. Make sure you ask your questions as we go along. And let's give a warm welcome, PLC welcome to our speaker, Mike Togle. Over to you, Mike.
Hey, good evening, Sean. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I just want to ask, how's everyone today? How was it was the Valentine's weekend, so just before I start, just a quick show of hands or just drop a message in the chat box. And can you share quickly how your Valentine's weekend went? How did it go? Anyone courageous enough to share something? Because I heard that the PLC is a very engaged group and they they love to respond and engage the speaker during the chat. So Sean said, "Happy wife, happy life." Yes, indeed, indeed. Had dinner with the family. Right, right. How about the others? Let's get the practice of chatting and putting in the comments in the chat as I prepare my slides. I'm just going to share. Wonderful introduction from Sean. Thank you, Sean. Can you type one if you can see my screen right now? If it's coming out clear and Sean is good. Great.
Yep, great.
So again, I'm Coach Mike, or yeah, I was introduced as Mike Togle, but I'm more known in various industries as Coach Mike. And so very grateful for the invitation to share with you what I have learned in all my years of teaching stock market, insurance planning, and estate planning. Just a little background. I started my journey to share about personal finance in 2004, starting with the stock market. And in 2009, I got myself my first insurance policy. So that's when I started advocating insurance. And I would even refer my clients to my friends to insurance agent friends because I wasn't an insurance agent or financial advisor back then. And more in 2019, when I eventually became a financial advisor myself, and it just grew from there. Just started growing. And these are my credentials since I started my journey as a financial advisor. But enough about me. Enough about me. And I'd like to share with you the agenda for tonight. Number one, we're going to talk about your financial destination, your final destination, right? And we're going to share about 8 key learnings about personal finance. So I'd like to ask you to take a moment to pause while I try to see who are in the room right now because I have my second screen here. I see Chill, I see Heidi, Jodik is here, and some of my friends, teammates, and colleagues in the industry. I see Rachel, who was I think Rachel was the one who won a book from our Ikigai talk last time. So these are the two things we're going to talk about. But my objective really would be to shake things up when we talk about personal finance and financial independence. And do you think that it's quite timely with inflation going up and prices of commodities skyrocketing? Have you experienced before a 1,000 peso budget would be enough to buy chicken and vegetables and some fruits and some additional groceries? Now, it's just one piece of meat. So ask yourself, why are you here? That's a question I'd like to impose upon you guys. Why are you here? A lot of you probably had a reason to attend this because you thought it's an opportunity to learn, right? And later on, as we go into the talk, you will start to feel some things. So feel free to disrupt me and ask questions or just react with any emotion if you're unhappy or happy about what I'm sharing. Feel free, because this again is meant to shake things up. And let's start by asking you this question. Have you watched this movie? Anyone? Can you type in the chat box what is the title of this movie? All right. Sean says Final Destination. Tin says Final Destination. So how many installments does Final Destination have? I think it's around 6,412. Yeah, yeah. So personally, I stopped watching Final Destination on the fourth installment. So I haven't watched the five, six, seven, and so on. And that's correct. It's Final Destination. The reason why I stopped because I just found it too impossible already. I didn't enjoy anymore after the fourth. But we're not here to talk about the movie. We're here to talk about your final financial destination. Many of us have a final financial destination in mind. But in all my years of doing personal finance, it usually boils down to three things. And that is to become wealthy, become financially independent, and become happily retired. So in the world of finance, there is an underlying definition of what these three things are. And it's basically an amount of money. An amount of money which when you are able to accumulate it will allow you to say, when I wake up, I don't have to worry about another day of work for the rest of my life. And you don't have to worry. It's an amount that will essentially set you free. And every person has their own definition about financial independence. But again, it boils down to an amount. Thing is, if you don't know that number, then you really haven't set your goal for yourself. And if you haven't set that goal, then you most probably haven't started your journey towards financial independence. So, reaching financial independence, retirement, or a particular amount of wealth, that's what we're really going to talk about tonight. Understanding financial independence. Let me give you an example. Let's say you are earning 80,000 a month and you're spending 80,000 a month as well. Everything's so expensive right now, right? Whatever it is you're earning, you are spending. But the thing is, you want to stop working at a certain part of at a certain phase of your life. But you see, the day you stop working is not the same day that you stop living. The day you stop working is not the same day that you stop living. Expenses will continue. So, what do you have to do? There better be that amount of money at that time of intersection of your life wherein you want to stop working, that you should have an amount of money that will take your place as the source of support for the life you are used to. Again, the source of support for the life you are used to. So people would ask me, Coach Mike, why would I want to maintain my lifestyle when I am already retired? I throw the question back. Would you want to degrade your lifestyle when you retire? Majority of people would say, oh, you got a point. I don't want to degrade my life. I still want to travel. I still want to spend. I still want to have a happy life. So nobody really wants to have a change in lifestyle. And we'll talk about change in a bit. So this is what our topic will revolve around, that amount of money to last you a lifetime without working. And typically, how much is that? Let me give you an example. Again, the 80,000. So I'm assuming that majority of the people in the room right now would be earning around this figure because we're leaders. So 80,000 a month times 12, that would be 960,000 pesos. I did the math for you. So to earn 80,000 a month when you are retired, you would need how much? Any guesses from the room? How much would you need to accumulate in order to earn 80,000 pesos a month or 960,000 a year? Any guess? I'll give a price. So the answer is actually 24 million pesos. Oh, wow. Mike, that's such a big amount. But just to give you an idea about how that works, for 24 million, if you are able to accumulate 24 million pesos by the time you want to retire, you can invest that 24 million in a high yield bonds instrument that can yield you 4%. Let's say just 4% per annum. 4% of 24 million is 960,000. So once you earn that, just spread it out throughout the year. That's 80,000 a month. Math sounds right. The math sounds good. It's right. But I have some bad news for everyone in the room. 99% of Filipinos fail to reach that number. 99% pass away bankrupt. 99% of Filipinos usually become completely dependent on someone before they pass on. Case in point, my 99-year-old grandfather who recently passed away, he was completely dependent on my parents. 99% of Filipinos pass on generational poverty. 99% of Filipinos continue that cycle of dependency, and we can be the solution. Do you want to be the solution? That's a question. Can you say solution in the chat box or just type 2 if you want to be part of the solution in fixing this sad number? That you can be part, grow that, lessen that 99% from 99, just lessen it by 1, you know? But we have to understand a little bit of psychology here. Before you get there, before you can change things, you have to understand the brain, that the brain is designed to favor the now over the later. I usually use this for when I teach people. Your brain is designed to favor the now over the later. The later should be the better thing to prepare for. But no matter how often you do that action now, later, just train your brain to favor the later over the now. This is what we are usually facing, every one of us, including myself. No matter how many times you repeat that gesture, we are reminded by our brain that it wants to stay in the comfort zone. This is where your brain wants you to remain. This is where your brain is telling you, you have to survive now. So why are you looking at the future? Your brain is saying, take care of your money and keep it in the now. Don't do anything with it because the future is uncertain and the future isn't important. The now is important. That's what your brain is saying. Because outside of that comfort zone, you have all these things. You have the anxiety, challenges. It's so hard outside your comfort zone. And it's the same thing when it comes to finances. And usually we can't feel that. We are so busy with what we do, our tasks, our deliverables, and the things that we need to pay attention to with our families, for example, that your brain is too busy keeping you in the now. Making change is conflicting. Doing anything else aside from protecting the now is it's something that your brain doesn't want. So change is painful, especially substantial change. Did you know, guys, that your brains cannot feel pain. Neurologists would always share this to stroke patients that the reason why you get a stroke because you get to that point that your brain is already shutting down, and you wouldn't know that your brain is shutting down because it can't feel pain. So even if it doesn't feel pain, it doesn't want to change. But do you know what will make it want to change? Can you say yes? Do you want to know what will help yourself, your brain, understand that it has to change? Can you say yes if you want to know? So we have, okay. There's one thing that the brain favors more over protecting yourself from pain, and that is irresistible pleasure. And I'm not talking about irresistible materialistic pleasures like new gadgets, traveling the world, bags. Who are bag people here? I'm sure some of the ladies in the room would like new bags, shoes, watches. I'm a watch person. So irresistible pleasure is something that your brain will that can shake up your brain and make it think, I want that. And it's willing to overcome the pain of getting there. So the irresistible pleasure that we want to talk about tonight is getting to the point that you can become wealthy, you can become financially independent and happily retired. But getting to this point, I have to make sure that everyone understands that it's not a snap of a finger. It's always a journey. So who are working here? Type me. If you are working, if you're employed, or if you're self-employed. And I'm self-employed at the moment, but I'm building a business. Type me. Let's get everyone trying to me part-time. Dixie says me. So a lot of you are working. You are currently at labor income. So basically, you earn money when you show up. You don't show up, you don't get paid. So labor income demands that you show up so that you can earn. But there will come a point in life where we cannot show up. We may either get sick, disabled, or maybe we're too old to work, to go to work, or you're retired. Or some would say the company stops. The company where you're employed stops, or your business is closed. So a successful financial journey, I just want to stress this point, is when you reach that point where your money works for you. So it's basically coming from labor income. You're working. You need to work in order to get paid from that point and moving to capital income. So capital income starts when you have accumulated enough money that you can put somewhere that it can work for you. Capital income is when money is made by money. Labor income is money made by man at work. So capital income is what will make you retire, make you financially independent. So we have to discover and understand starting now that labor income is not the goal. It cannot be the goal because there will become a point in your life that you cannot work anymore. So you need to have capital income work for you. So every one of us needs to start somewhere. So I congratulate each one of you for wanting to learn today. Can you congratulate everyone in the room? Just type in the chat box. Give that positive energy to everyone that congratulations, you are starting your journey. Let's see who are the yes, yeah, there's 10. Congratulations to all. So let me give you a quick summary of the advantages and disadvantages of labor and capital income. Just quickly. So there are three things. There's taxation, effort, and returns. When we talk about taxation, uh, so we have to understand that it's not how much you earn, but how much you keep at the end. Why? When you are employed, your income gets deducted by tax, withholding tax, right? Income tax. So if a person who is working and is earning 500,000 pesos a year, for example, uh, would be deducted 20%. So 100,000 of the person's money goes to taxes. Compared to a business person, also uh, has a business or has a career, 500,000 pesos as well. And that person needs to pay dividends tax for the shares of the business that they own at 10%. So that business person keeps 450,000 pesos. 50,000 pesos goes to taxes. Wherein someone who is an investor, the investor invests their capital income of 500,000, invest it in whatever financial vehicle, they basically pay zero taxes, or technically 6 over 100, or 0.06%. I'd like to stress that this is why the rich gets richer and the poor gets poorer comes into play. Because the last thing a rich person does is pay taxes, but it's the first thing that a poor person does. And this is one of the reasons why capital income is better. Another reason why capital income is better: the longer you live, the more your output diminishes. Right? Physically, just physically. Let's talk physical. Whenever we age, we are not able to do as much things as we did before. That's why there's a law of diminishing returns. Time is not good for the body, but money loves time. So the more time you give money, the more money can make. Everyone good so far? We're going into the next part, which is the 8 key learnings about finance, personal finance. So let's go into key learning number 1. Let's talk about net worth. Do you have net worth? A lot of people say, I don't have net worth. But everyone who has already been earning has net worth. There are so many people in the Philippines who don't know what their net worth is. The point I'd like to make with this particular slide is that your net worth only goes two ways. It either goes up or it goes down. So what happens if you don't know your net worth? If you don't know your net worth, you're not doing anything to make it go up because you don't know where you're starting from. And if it's not going up, it's going. Where's it going? If it's not going up, where's it going? Anyone? Some people are saying, oh, this sounds like a seminar. It's stagnant. Stagnant is the best, best thing that can happen if you don't know your net worth. It stays the same. That's great. But if it's most of us, most Filipinos, if it's not going up, it's going down. And it's not the direction that we want to go. So in everything, when it comes to wealth planning, wealth building, and managing personal finance, it begins with knowing where you are right now. And there are only two ways to build net worth. It's to maximize revenue and minimize cost. Basically, it's something must be left at the bottom line. But we'll get to that in a bit. So again, the main point here is that you have to know where you're starting from when you are starting your journey towards building wealth. You have to know. Okay? Number 2, key learning number 2. Now, a lot of people say that you have to build income. Income is the goal, right? But what I say is that the ultimate goal is to accumulate enough capital, again, going to capital income, to generate the income needed to replace you as the support for your lifestyle. What were we told when we were small, when we were still studying? Study hard. What's next after studying hard? Why are you studying hard? You want to get good? Anyone? For why are you studying? Yeah, getting good grades. Why do you want to get good grades? You want to get a good and you graduate after getting good grades. Get a good job. For you to get a good why you want to get a good job? Because you want to get good pay and you want to get income. But school stops there. School stops there when it comes to telling why you really want more income. Stops there. Again, if nothing is left at the bottom line, at the end of the day, we can never be rich. So it's not the goal. It's having money at the end of the day left to be placed somewhere. Just to reiterate, just an example. Who here, I'd just like to give an exercise to everyone who's watching. Who is richer? Person A is earning 25,000 pesos and person B is earning 500,000. Who says A? Who says B? While I drink water. Christine says B. Okay, we have Maria Lourdes says B. The others just want to wait. What's coming next? Depends on how you define rich. Periodic says it depends. Depends on what? This is the only thing that you see on the screen right now. Just choose A or B. Periodic says frequency. Scorazon says A. So let's add a little bit more. Person A spends 15,000 pesos a month, while person B spends 600,000. So I say, how can that person spend 600,000 when he's only earning 500,000? Loans, spending too much, spending more than they can afford. Why? When you're person B is someone who's like earning so much, but since he has to keep up with the Jonases, his neighbors who are also rich, but he has so many obligations, he ends up spending more than he can afford. So if you look at the screen right now, is it A or B? Who's richer now? A. He has money left at the bottom line at the end of the day. He's earning more. Yes, when you earn more, Filipinos tend to spend more, right? That's what we call lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation is so much more dangerous than national inflation. Again, there's only one measure. What is left at the bottom line? That's key learning number 2. Number 3, there are only 2 measures of financial health, and that is cash flow and net worth. So what is cash flow? Are you earning enough that you can have a positive bank account at the end of the day? Is there something left after you spend? And net worth is the amount of money accumulated over time from a positive cash flow. Again, yeah, understand? Get a positive cash flow to build your net worth. If you cannot save, you cannot invest, and you cannot be wealthy. So everything begins with a positive cash flow. And the thing with Filipinos, especially millennials, sorry, I'm a Gen X guy. Millennials, they're not, a lot of millennials are not privy to having a household budget because either they were not taught to have a household budget. So when you're a couple, you have a separate budget, totally separate budget between the husband and wife. It's just that husband, you're assigned to pay for the electricity. Wife, you're assigned to spend for the groceries. That's usually how it goes with millennials and even some of the older Gen Zs. But if you talk to Gen X and baby boomers, they were taught how to have a household budget. So we want to go back there. So it's very important to understand that for you, uh, for you who are who have has a family right now, you have to have a whole household budget because it strengthens your capacity to invest at the end of the day. It becomes teamwork rather than an individual kind of effort. If you don't, but basically, if you don't have a budget, which is a sickness of about 70% of Filipinos, people don't have a budget. Then, if you don't have one, I know that you don't have a target for your bottom line. If you don't have a budget, you don't know what your income, you don't know how to allocate your income to specific expenses, then I would really know that you don't have a target for your bottom line. It's just whatever is left at the end of the day, whatever becomes that. And if there's no bottom line, you cannot save. If you cannot save, then you cannot invest. What did I say? The key to building wealth, it is not just earning a high income, but translating that high income into a positive cash flow that can translate into net worth. Make sense so far? Are you still here, guys? Type one if you are learning or appreciating what I'm sharing right now, because I'm going to talk about cars. So just a quick story, a very quick story. I had a client who asked me, Mike, I would like to buy a new car. So I have two options, a Hyundai and a BMW. So I know this client of mine was just testing me because uh, he wants to know how I would help him navigate his wealth. So I just asked this one question. Where is the money going to come from when you pay for either of the cars? Where is the money coming from? So he said, "Oh, that's a lovely question. I will answer you with another question. Why does it matter?" So I explained to him, if the money that you're going to spend to buy for either of the cars will come from your household budget, it's going to take a portion from your household budget, then I would advise you to get the cheaper car. But if your money, if the budget that you're going to spend to buy the car is coming from capital income, go ahead. Go ahead. Buy the BMW, buy the more expensive car. Why? Again, prioritizing a positive cash flow is very important as you journey towards building that capital income. Because if that this person buys the BMW and it's going to eat a lot of the capital of the labor income the end of the day, then he won't be able to put more money into that capital income. Make sense? So how much is a not this particular, but how much the cheapest BMW nowadays, Sean? I think it's for around 4 million, the
I
cheapest one.
have no idea. I don't know what
Would
you're
you know?
asking me.
Well, my client, he got his BMW for 4.2 million. Um, he he just got it from the earnings of his investment. So it's really not coming from any household budget. I was so happy that I advised him to do so. But of course, we asked the wife first. Very important. Happy wife, happy life. So we had three learnings now, and we're moving on to number four. The key to wealth is what you spend your income on. You know, what we see in a lot of financial workshops or financial literacy talks is that these a lot of advisors would tell you, and even media would tell you, that in order for you to build wealth, you have to cut down on spending. Or better yet, a very, very common example given by financial advisors like me. But I don't do this anymore. So a lot of financial advisors would say, oh, instead of spending your money on Starbucks, you invest it in a insurance policy. Have you heard that? Hmm? Type 3 if you've heard that from any of your financial advisors. Sean, right? Instead of spending 150,000 pesos on a Starbucks drink, just save it and put it in a insurance policy that can grow over time, or it can give you payouts after a certain period. You know, people who give that advice give spending a bad name. It gives spending a bad name because honestly, spending is not bad. Again, the key is after you earn your income, you spend it where? You spend it in on the right vehicles or right assets. Are you buying stuff that diminishes in value over time? Like expensive cars. So spending is not bad. My dear leaders, spending is not bad if you are mindful of where you spend your income. So we're going into a lot more detail of the solution on how you can build it, because when you spend on assets, buy only 3-in-1 coffee instead of Starbucks. You still enjoy. Just learn how to do it. When you spend on assets that essentially forms part of your investments, it becomes your journey to building wealth. Again, when you spend on assets that can essentially form part of your net worth, it becomes your journey to building wealth. So, where to invest? Where? Has anyone helped you understand where to invest? Because there are so many vehicles out there. There are equities, the stock market, there are bonds, there are high yield bonds, there are treasury bills. A lot of real estate. Just walk along the mall, a real estate sales agent will come up to you. Oh, here's a condo, here's a plot of land, here's a house, real estate. There's cryptocurrencies, there's foreign exchange, and there's commodities. Commodities, investing in commodities. I don't mean commodities as in groceries. It's commodities. It's an investment vehicle. I've been asked so many times, where should I invest? So just let to pose a question to the group. Who here believes that the success of your investment depends on which financial vehicle you use? Do you believe this? That you have to choose the right investment to make sure that you or will have a successful investment. Type I if you believe that. I. If you believe that it's more important to choose the right vehicle to make sure that you will be successful. So Tin and Nanette says, okay, I. But in truth, read what's on the screen. There is no such thing as a winning or losing investment. There are only winning or losing investors. We have been conditioned either by media or investment influencers, marketers, that our ability to earn a profit will be highly dependent on where we invest our savings. We have been conditioned to believe that we choose the right instruments when we will be guaranteed success, and we choose the wrong vehicle, we gamble and we lose. This is not true. My dear leaders, this is not true. We can be investing in the same instrument, but we may not have the same results. So I've been saying this over and over since 2004 to friends who are saying that You invest in the stock market. Over time, you are guaranteed to earn multitudes. And then the pandemic came. People with portfolios of around 200% suddenly had a portfolio of 10%. You know, again, it depends on the investor. It depends on their resources and their ability to manage risk. And this was actually said many times by the father of value investing, who is Benjamin Graham. That is why the ability to handle risk is very personal to every investor, to every person. It depends on the amount of money, knowledge, and time that each person has. So we move to key learning number 5. So we will get to this a little bit more later. So what we have to understand is that you need to know how well protected your wealth is from risk. So going back to key learning number 1, just a little rewind, that for you to be able to build your network, you need to maximize revenue, minimize cost to create profit. So let's zoom in a little bit on the maximizing revenue because it's related to key learning number 5. So we we leaders work so hard. We want to earn more, we want to save more, we want to invest more, right? To build more capital income. So we maximize our revenue and increase our net worth. That's the goal. So let me illustrate for you using the 4 levels of life in society: luxury, comfort, poor, and charity. There are only four levels. And our families are usually at the comfort level right now, hopefully, because we are earning enough. But when the pandemic showed us that even our jobs can be at risk, and when that source is put at risk, our family can slide down to poor, hopefully not charity levels. But our goal is really to pull them up to luxury. Type L if you want to be luxurious, you want to be rich. So how do you really upgrade your level? Now, a lot of people ask me, Mike, how do I invest in order to upgrade my level? So, again, it's a journey. You cannot skip right to the capital income level if your cash flow is not positive. You need to build up your net worth. So how? This is what I usually for employed people. Be consistent in trying to go up the corporate ladder. Because when you go up the corporate ladder, your salary hopefully increases, right? So if you go up, you get promoted, you have more income. Or if it's a dead end job that you're already somewhere near the top, cannot go up anymore, you start side business, earn more. You need to have more than one additional income source. You have, and then when you have a positive cash flow, you can start growing capital income. So side learning, 5A. Basically, what I'm saying, in order for you to maximize revenue, you have to have additional income sources, multiple income sources, or larger income sources. Add capital income multiplied by your risk level, your risk appetite. So I shared this a while ago. You can invest in these different financial vehicles. Remember this? And I shared that there are no winning or losing investments, just winning or losing investors. Why is that? Because a lot of us need to improve on our money, our positive cash flow. And we need to learn knowledge and then time for you to be able to build your net worth faster. What if you're in a hurry? Your time is dwindling. You don't have money. If you have money, but you don't have knowledge and time, then you can delegate. There are these kinds of things. You can take a screenshot of this because there are investment options out there that, like mutual funds, trust funds, universal investment trust funds, you have exchange traded funds, and you even have VULs. That's why if you have the money but not the knowledge, then these are where you can go to. You have fund managers who can make sure that your investment or has a higher chance of growing because they are more experienced, they are professionals. But what if you don't have money? What do you do? Again, add income sources, go for that promotion, or basically add just add and add or start a side business. Now, what if you don't have any more time? What if you're already retired? Like I always say, as long as you're alive, then you have time. There are more drastic investment vehicles for you out there that are can be equated to your level of risk. But for those who are younger, then I can see some young people in the room, young leaders. Money loves time. So the sooner you can get to that capital income levels where you have money to invest, then do so. So key learning number 6, there will always be cost as long as you're alive. You have to accept this fact. That's why going back to that formula, for you to increase your net worth, you have to maximize revenue and minimize cost. We are this part. We are at this portion of the top. Minimize cost in order to create profit. There are so many people in the Philippines who think that cost stops when they retire. And how does that happen? That's when sandwich generation comes in. They rely on their children. That's why costs go down. And sadly, it's still a disease in society. I call it a disease because when you have the sandwich generation trying to support both their family and their parents, then this one has almost no capability to build capital income. And we want to fix that, right? We want to fix that. Type 2, if you want to fix that, you want to be part of the solution. And when it comes to cost, just going back to cost, remember this? Remember this guy who wants to build it up? So while we are at that stage of building up our capital income, and what happens when this person is taken out of the equation? What happens to the people who depend on us? They'll go down, right? They go down. And just a quick review for everyone. When it comes to critical illness, you don't have to disappear. Your money can disappear because of critical illness. I can't stress this enough. I'll get to that a little bit of a story in a bit. Right? So these are the common diseases: heart disease for men and breast cancer for women. These two are still at the top. And in terms of cost, this is not updated. It's higher nowadays with inflation and everything. Heart attack, you would already need around 1.2 to 1.3 million. Right? Breast cancer, fortunately, has gone a little bit down, 390,000. The last I checked, there's even a package being offered. Can you type 5 if you want to hear a very short story of why I am really pushing for better understanding of critical illness? And it's a very personal story for me because it happened to me and my wife. Would you believe, at the age of 31 years old, my wife had a major stroke. Okay? 9 days after giving birth, my wife had a stroke. So I lifted her up from the bed, brought her to the car, didn't wait for the ambulance because, ambulance is so fast in the Philippines. They get to you when it's already too late. And it's stroke. I understand. We had 30 minutes to bring my wife to the hospital. So I didn't wait. Just went there, got to the hospital, and they performed a craniotomy because, for those who are familiar with medical terms, her brain already herniated from the skull. Sorry for those who are eating. But basically, yeah, she had a major stroke at the age of 31. Right off the bat, 21 days in the hospital, ICU and everything, surgery, 1.2 million pesos. And she was not insured. That's why, for me, it's a very It's an advocacy of mine to teach people to have the adequate coverage in terms of critical illness insurance to minimize the cost. Because my capital income was basically, is my wife here, depleted. Our capital income is gone. Over time of 4 years, I already spent 2.4 million therapy, medicine, and everything. My wife knows that, but I'm still whispering so she won't feel bad. But 2.4 million, can you afford 2.4 million? But beside the point, can your capital income suffer that kind of loss? Mine didn't. So I start from scratch after that and still trying to rebuild my capital income at this point in time. So going back, loss of a breadwinner, how do you compute how much life insurance should a person have? The rule of thumb is that your monthly income multiplied by 12 months equals your annual income, and you multiply that by the number of years until the youngest person dependent on you will be able to be independent. Because that is the total cost of income loss. Okay. So I have here some examples. Which one will be the basis of the computation? The formula would be the son who is 4 years old. So 120,000, case of the father, 120,000 times 12, and then multiply that. What age do people graduate nowadays because of K to 12? 20. What age, guys? 22. 22 minus 4, multiply that by the 120 times 12. That's the amount of insurance the father should have, so that the child doesn't have to worry about, not being able to go to school until they are able to graduate. Okay, just one example. That's why insurance plays a big role in keeping the family to that at that level of comfort. Sadly, with everything and all my years of sharing personal finance, a lot of Filipinos are still DIY when it comes to investments, even if they don't have the knowledge to do so. They are DIY. They force themselves to try, and sadly, that's the problem. If they try, they don't have the knowledge, and no one's guiding them, they fall flat. Their capital income suffers. And more than that, a lot of Filipinos are allergic when it comes to insurance. Real talk. Real talk. Yeah? So we have 6 learnings so far. And going quickly into number 7, the type of insurance should support your level of risk. I'm going to fast forward a bit because I want to have some more Q&A with you guys. So these are the most common risks in life: death, accident, because of bad medical history. You are prone to critical illness, and then you're maybe a hospital magnet. So these are, in terms of finance, these are the costs. Again, we're trying to minimize costs. These are the costs that a person might face because of these risks. And in terms of insurance, these are the answers. Dear leaders, the insurance industry has already thought about these risks and provided solutions. There are already so many solutions out there. And there are 3 different kinds of insurance. I won't deep dive into them anymore. There's term insurance, traditional insurance, and there's variable unit linked. Right? Just quickly, advantages and disadvantages. Term insurance, lower cost. Bigger coverage, lower cost. The disadvantage, over time, it increases. And when you reach a certain age, like 55 and up, the increase in premiums are almost tenfold. So expensive. That's why it's prone to lapsation. Lapsation is when you lose the coverage because you weren't able to pay for the premium. So there's traditional insurance and there's variable linked. So these are the benefits and disadvantages. For variable unit linked, the really good thing about this is not the investment. A lot of advisors will tell you that it's the investment that's the plus side of variable unit link, but it's more on the comprehensive benefits that you can get. You can get more bang for buck if you get a VUL. It's a little bit more expensive than it's a whole lot of more expensive than term, but it's not as expensive as traditional if you're trying to get more benefits. Right? Just quickly take a screenshot. So if you fall under these definitions of a person, if you have low budget, get the term insurance, and so on and so forth. And key learning number 8, which is the last one, insurance planning is a journey. Don't force yourself to get a large insurance if you cannot afford it. Why? Because if you force yourself a large coverage, the premiums will be high, and then you won't be able to sustain it. So it lapses and you lose coverage entirely. It's better to gradually grow your insurance coverage as your net worth grows. Gradually, it becomes a parallel journey. As your net worth grows, your insurance coverage should also grow. And also as you age. So just costs of delay, if you're someone who isn't insured yet, mortality risks increase as you grow older. You cannot control accidents. You cannot control critical illness, especially if you have a medical history in your family prone to critical illness. And there are so many cases where you assume that you're still insurable, but you are no longer insurable. Fun fact though, the average Filipino who is insured usually gets 2 insurance policies. Okay, so we're coming to the end of our talk. We already talked about net worth, wherein you need to maximize revenue and minimize cost to generate profit. That profit is invested into capital income, to invested in financial vehicles that can generate capital income. So leaders, we know how to leverage good talent, right? That's what leaders do. You find the really good people in your team and you delegate the right task to them. Oh, we're great at empowering people. We excel in delegation. So when it comes to personal finances, we need to know who to ask for help. Not every financial advisor knows everything. So there are different tasks that you can delegate. Assessment, maximizing revenue, and these are the people that you need to look for. And what you need to talk to them about is financial assessment, budget allocation, fill in the gaps, revenue, where to place your money, minimizing costs, that's for the insurance people, and so that you can know how to manage your risk. Again, personal finance is very personal. Each one of us has different levels of money available. Each one of us has different amounts of knowledge when it comes to finance, when it comes to investments. Each one of us has different amounts of time available to have our money grow for us. But every one of us, again, wants to become wealthy, financially independent, happily retired. But we have to start that journey now. Last fun fact for tonight, only 25% of working Filipinos have basic financial skills. Now, congratulations. You belong to the 25%. And that's it for my part. I'm opening the floor for questions. Thank you again for giving me
Thank
the
you,
opportunity
Mike.
to share.
Good job. Well done. I think we actually still have a lot of people here, and I think there's going to be a bunch of questions. Let's give them a minute to put your questions into the chat group, so we can ask them to Mike. I will ask the first question. But first, a reminder that if you have 4 million pesos in spare capital income, do not buy a Mercedes or a BMW. To have a talk to Mike and find better ways of buying non-depreciating assets. Mike, also, thank you for sharing that story about your wife. I know it's not an easy story to share. But it really does help our audience understand why this is such an important advocacy for you. And also beyond the personal implications, right? We talked about the fact that there are generational and national implications over the long term, meaning
Yes.
financial literacy and sessions like this are really important so that people can take control over their finances and steer their lives in the right direction. It's the only way that we're going to get out of the cycle that we're in.
Mm.
The first question I wanted to ask is, why do you think this topic is really important in terms of supporting our PLC leaders to be effective in what they do in their day-to-day job?
Well, that's a fantastic question. Um, for leaders, we rely heavily in our, what you say, our mindset. A day to day, we're bombarded with a lot of stress, with a lot of responsibilities, and we have to have a clear mind. We have to have a clear mind in order to perform our duties as a leader. The thing is, when we are part of our brain is really thinking about what will happen when I retire, or what will happen tomorrow. I have so many expenses. If we don't have a healthy personal finance makeup, the challenge will be our brain is not focused on what needs to be done.
Good point. Yeah, it's very hard when you're struggling with your finances to be the most effective leader, right? And just taking an hour to top up your financial literacy is a good step. Nanette has a question. What is the best investment tool for a retiree due to forced early retirement who wasn't able to prepare for the retirement fund?
That's a I've been faced with so many scenarios in this case. Uh, it Number one, it depends. I know it's a cliche response. It depends. It depends on if you were able to how much capital income or how much savings do you have at this point, because you need to diversify that amount of money that you have that you have left in order to, number one, keep up with your expenses, number two, and try to build a capital income for retirees. In that case, early retirement, what I usually suggest is you invest in businesses that you've seen a good amount of success. There are businesses out there or who are licensed to accept investments, and they have shown a good amount of success. So the money that you're investing have better chances of increasing, so that you can build a little bit more savings. Um, I wouldn't suggest equities because this is so volatile nowadays. Even the global tech space, which naturally grows 23% every year, just this quarter is already stagnant. It's not going up, it's not going down. So it's not uh, it's not guaranteed. So for retirees, you need to find, for example, high yield bonds. That's the least risky investment that you can go for. So there are banks that offers 5%. No, but essentially, if you don't have that enough capital income, sadly, you need to find sources of income to build a fund.
Yeah, that actually leads on to the next question, right? Because uh, even if you're in the retirement age, you're still going to have to find ways of generating income some way. But it also means that you need to manage costs, right? So that as much of your money can be put into investment with whatever runway you have left. So Joey has a question in terms of it seems to him that managing costs over the long term might have more impact than revenue generation. So what's your advice on that?
Uh, with what kind of cost are you talking about?
I would assume cost of living. Joey, you want to expound what type of costs you're just talking about day-to-day living costs?
Hi, Mike. Yeah, thanks, Sean. Yeah, it's day to day, you know. So typically the experience is if your income goes up, your lifestyle goes up as well. So there's some magic bit of a discipline to be able to do that in a longer term, secure for yourself much, much. successful, more successful.
Okay.
That's
Sean, I'm not sure if it's me or I
No,
really can't
it was
hear
Joey. Your microphone wasn't
volume.
picking up.
Yeah.
We didn't pick up much of that, Joey.
Hi, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
That's the
that's
one.
good.
Yeah,
Much.
switch mic. Okay, sorry. So thanks, Mike. So yeah, Sean was correct. So basically, my point really was, your revenue generation, as you age, also goes up. That's at least the assumption, but there has to be some discipline along the way as well
Mm.
in terms of your lifestyle, because it's really cliche-ish when when our revenue goes up, our cost of living also goes up. So do you have any advice for us to be able to probably consider
Mm.
moving more forward to the future on this one?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. Um, there basically it boils down to budget management. I know that budget management is a very touchy topic for many Filipinos because they have a lot of uncontrollable costs or sudden costs. Um, but essentially, there are budget frameworks that you can follow. The more famous one would be the 60-20-20, 60% to operational expenses, 20% to savings and investment, and 20% to leisure. That's one. There's others would have 50-30-20, 10, and then there's tithing included in that. But for me, what we usually suggest would be the 60% goes to your cost of living, 20% would go into savings and investments, 10% for leisure, and another 10% goes into goals, specific goals in life. You want to buy a house, buy a car, save up for travel. So the 60-20-10-10 is personally what I advocate. It allows, and that's what I use for my family. So I make sure that my income is able to sustain the 60-20-10-10s, the 60% especially. So if my because we're our company or my career right now is commission based, so it's not a steady flow of income. When income goes down, I have to make sure that there's enough for the 20% and there's enough for the 10% for my goals. The leisure I can forgo. It it's a flexible thing. But the 60%, I should have that. So that's when I either I work more or I get a project or find more speaking engagements.
But the idea is to 60% for operational costs, but
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that you that's not a goal to spend. It's a goal, it's a maximum upper limit, right?
It's an upper limit.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
older you are, the lower that should be, because you need to be having as much free cash flow going back into your investment. So this is a tip of the iceberg discussion. I'm sure it's got a lot of people thinking what to do next. I've got one final question. Mike, there is a trend, I don't know if it's a generational trend, but there is a trend around of married couples that don't have joint bank accounts.
Mm.
What's your take on this, and what are the pros and cons with this?
Okay. Joint bank accounts, number one, for estate purposes, you need to have a joint account. Why? When one of you passes away, you won't be able to withdraw if it's individual accounts. If it's joint account, if either passes away, the spouse who's still living can withdraw money. That's because of the government doesn't really know how much is in your bank account because of the bank secrecy law. So you're able to withdraw money from the bank account if you have a joint. So that's an aspect of estate planning. On the aspect of budget management, it's so much easier if you have a joint account. You know? But I understand that for cases where one or the other is earning more, uh, what I would usually suggest is you have a joint account that's your household budget, and then you have individual accounts for your personal needs. It has to be a discussion between couples. It has to be, just so that there's happy wife, happy life. So that there would be a peaceful understanding between couples. It has to be a joint account.
Peaceful. That's that's what we're trying to get. Okay, everyone, Mike's contact info is on the screen there. So quickly, if you want to grab his details, feel free to reach out if you want to have any more discussions with him. He would be glad to engage with you. And that is going to wrap up our session for tonight. But first, thank you, Mike, again for your time and the information and the energy. Really appreciate it. A very important session for everybody. To everyone else, our next event online will be on March the 17th, the third Monday of every month at 8 p.m. again via Zoom. And we'll be announcing our guest speaker in the next week or so. So keep that date free. We hope you can join us. And if you aren't already a member, join our PLC Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Philippine Leadership Collective, and also visit our website www.leadershipcollective.ph. You can find copies of our previous sessions all there, and information on how to join. A big thank you to everyone who joined us tonight. It took a little bit of time to fill your leadership cup. We appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed the session. We look forward to seeing you next month. Good night to everybody, and take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Sean, and everybody.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.